Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show. I'm here with my friend Breea Clark, who is the mayor of Norman here in Oklahoma. How are you doing today?
Hanging in there yourself?
I'm doing all right. Um, so the first question I have here is, where are you from and where did you grow up at?
Okay. I'm from Wichita, Kansas, born and raised. I went to Wichita State University for my undergraduate, and it was OU Law that brought me down to Norman, Oklahoma in 2005.
All right. Um, that was actually my second question was how'd you end up in Norman?
Okay.
Uh,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
so it was OU Law that brought me here. And I like to joke that I bought my first home here. I have a couple Okie babies that think red dirt is normal, and the rest is history.
All right. So, what made you want to run for office and get involved in politics?
Well, I'd always been involved in my community. If it was not, Parent Teacher Association, PTA, the oldest child advocacy organization in the nation, or involvement with boards and commissions, I was no stranger to being involved in the Norman community. But I felt a disconnect between myself and local government, which was crazy given I was so involved. And I thought, hey, local government is the level of government that impacts my life most directly. I should know full well who my council person is, and they should have a line of communication with me, and that wasn't happening. So I have a kind of trend with all of my leadership stories. It often is, well, somebody's got to do it, and people look right back at me and say, well, why don't you? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I hadn't planned on running for office. I did have two political internships in college and majored in political science, but I'd always fancied myself to be more of a staffer. And,
Mhm.
this just kind of happened, and one thing leads to another, and here we are today.
Right. What are some of your accomplishments as mayor?
Well, I'm still in my first term. I won my election last February, but I didn't get sworn in until July. So I have been at the helm of the city of Norman for less than a year, but we have had some wins. But I always like to point out the wins that we were able to accomplish weren't solely mine by any means, because like all levels of government, sometimes it takes a while to get things accomplished. So some of the things that I'm most proud of are our most comprehensive LGBTQ protections in the state. But again, two previous mayors had worked on that. I just happened to be in the seat when we were successful in passing it, and hopefully modeling for other Oklahoma cities what they can do with their own ordinances. We did the Inclusive Community Subcommittee to help us identify ways we can continue to be inclusive and steps we need to take. We're we still are in the process. Things have obviously hit kind of a speed bump, roadblock type thing with dealing with the pandemic. But we're in the process of creating a new subcommittee of our Human Rights Commission. So we have a group of citizens continuing to work to implement those recommendations. So we've worked a lot on the inclusive community stuff. I'm very proud of that. Another one that was kind of I mean, everything takes a huge effort, and nothing is solely me by any means. But I was happy to help with the election in November that helped fund our public transit system that was so generously gifted to us by the University of Oklahoma. And so we were able to allocate money towards funding that very important government service without seeing an increase in sales tax. And so that's been something that's really special as well, particularly as Oklahoma cities gear up towards the Regional Transit Authority several years out, but is definitely in our future. It'll be commuter rail that will connect Norman all the way up to Edmond and include Midwest City and Dell City. But if you don't have a bus system,
Yeah.
it's really hard for people to get to it. So I think public transit's been one I'm quite proud of. Working with our community partners, all of the issues and steps we've taken to be a more inclusive community. There are a lot of great things going on right now, and there's more coming in the future, not just with us, but the University of Oklahoma continues to do exciting things as the county seat. Cleveland County is doing a lot in the downtown area. Norman Regional is expanding their health systems. Again, it's a great time to be in Norman. I'm very excited.
All right. That's good. So, what are some things that you hope to accomplish in the future?
survive this pandemic is number one on my list right now. And not to make light of it, but to keep as many Norman residents and Oklahomans safe as possible. This is unprecedented. There is no vaccine. It's 3 times more contagious than the flu. So I don't want to be a fearmonger by any means, but I do want to take the steps necessary to help our residents take this very seriously, because it's, again, strange times. But the great part is we're uniquely positioned in Oklahoma where we can see what worked and what hasn't worked from all over our country and also all over the world. So we can't be afraid to do what's necessary. And it's very, very difficult. And I know that we're going to suffer economically, both our businesses and our city, because Oklahoma is the only state in the nation that ties cities to sales tax the way that we do.
Yeah.
So you can argue that cities in Oklahoma will suffer more than cities anywhere else in our country. And if that's not enough motivation to change that in our state constitution, I don't know what is. So just trying to navigate us through this during this interesting time. Handling pandemics was not in the new mayor training, as I'm sure you can imagine. But we're doing the best we can. I've tried to be supportive of our businesses, but still making some very tough choices. You know, we were the first city to announce that we were going to close our restaurants and bars and have delivery and takeout service only. And being someone who bartended her way through college, and I paid for it myself, I know people are suffering right now. And that was not an easy decision to make. But I'm confident that the sooner we get ahead of this thing and get a hold of it and flatten the curve, the sooner we can get back to normal. And I really need people to understand that. And I'm going to continue to work with our state and federal legislators to make sure we get the unemployment benefits that we need, that our small businesses get the help that they need, because there is a limit to what cities can do. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten the kind of directive that we need from our state government to get the cities all on the same page. So I've been very impressed with how mayors within our state are communicating with each other. I do find it ironic that we have a state legislature and a governor that aren't afraid to tell cities what to do in terms of preemption. Yet when we need them to tell us what to do, radio silence. So that's been a little frustrating. But again, we were elected to do a job and to do what's best for our city, and I'm certainly prepared to do that. So that is definitely first on my radar. Before this kind of came at us, which we could all see coming, so no one should say, I didn't think this was going to be this bad, because we are not exceptional compared to the rest of the world. We're all humans. But we were working on a bond vote, GO bonds, 2 different ballots that would help us fully fund our Norman Forward projects, as well as some city projects that were previously approved by voters, but for various reasons need some financial support. And I support these 2 bonds because it's property tax and not more sales tax. You know, sales tax is the most regressive tax out there. It's volatile. And because of how our state constitution says cities have to fund themselves, it's a very delicate balancing act to continue to push more and more on sales tax. So that we were originally looking for a June election. We don't even know what our economy is going to look like by then. So I've asked staff to move it to August. So that'll be, hopefully things will be back to normal and we can continue to work on things like that, because yes, this is scary and a lot of things are up in the air, but we know it will pass. And we can't just stop everything. We do have to look at future operations and plans for our city. So there's a lot going on in that area. And those are things I'm certainly focused on. And, you know, Norman's busy. We have hardworking council members. We've all got a lot on our plates right now. And once we get a hold of this situation, I know we're all excited to get back to business as usual.
All right. Yeah, my next question was going to be kind of about what you just talked about the pandemic. So currently we have the coronavirus pandemic going on. I was going to ask about what your response was, kind of talked about that a little bit, because I thought your response to it was better than some of the other mayors of the bigger cities. So I want to thank you for that, because that was really good. You tried to set an example for the rest of everyone in the state. My hometown, Shawnee, recently, they've done what you guys have done, pretty much said everything needs to close down except for certain things like Walmart and stuff. But how do you feel about how the governor's handling it?
It's very frustrating. I know that we're all trying to balance what to do in this situation. But again, as I said earlier, Oklahoma is uniquely positioned to look at what other states are doing to see what works and what doesn't. And one thing I can say with 100% certainty is doing nothing is not helpful. And that's kind of where we're at and what it feels like right now. And it's now more than ever, I say time and time again, local government is the most important level of government, and we're having to rise to the occasion. Norman's not afraid to be a trailblazer. And if we need to continue to blaze trails in how to manage a pandemic, I am more than prepared to do so. So again, why we think things would be different here is mind blowing to me. Science, it's a thing. So we're going to make some tough choices in the days ahead. My biggest fear with how Norman is managing the pandemic, we have the second highest number of confirmed cases. I say confirmed with emphasis because we had community spread before spring break. And when this all started to unfold before that was confirmed, my big fear was after spring break when everyone comes back to Norman. I really appreciate the university taking everything online for the rest of the semester because it keeps some of those students who had been in all of these places around the nation and the world, hopefully going home instead of coming back to Norman. But it was already here. So we can't not act. And it's difficult choices for sure. I think every mayor is doing what they think is best, but it is time for us to come together and make tough choices as cities, since our state as a whole isn't doing much. I do appreciate Joy Hoffmeister, our state superintendent, for, we're basically warning all the superintendents we're going to close for the rest of the year and already taking that burden of state testing off of our students' backs. I have a kindergartner and a seventh grader. Every day at home, we have Power Hour where you have to read, and my oldest does Khan Academy to work on coding online. I'm still working with that youngest to get him reading. The teachers have been amazing, providing resources online. So Oklahomans are doing what Oklahomans do best, and they're coming together in times of emergency. I would definitely appreciate more leadership at the state level, though. I will say that.
All right. And my last question is, who are your favorite music artists?
Ooh, my favorite music artist. I tend to be an 80s girl. My go-tos right now, I've got some Depeche Mode going on, Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, Queen. My husband and I went on a cruise actually before things went crazy, and he was, I think, surprised, as was everyone in that room, when I won the ABBA Name That Tune, being only 36 and just a big ABBA fan. Lady Gaga, though, she's been on my iTunes radio. I've been enjoying that. My son tells me I'm too young to like, or too old to like Lizzo, but that doesn't stop me with that either. So I have an eclectic mix of things that I enjoy. So many great music out there. There's no reason to limit yourself. Same thing with books, which I have a huge to-do list of things I'm going to accomplish while being sheltering at home, and getting caught up on that stack of growing books on my nightstand is definitely one of them.
All right. Well, thank you. Where can we find you on social media?
I have the Clark for Norman, so FOR. It's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Clark for Norman, and we do a story time every day around 10 o'clock. I've really been trying to push information out to residents during this strange time. It causes a lot of anxiety. And the story time is to help with social distancing. We're humans. We have to connect with each other, and if I can help by reading a story, I'm happy to do that. If we do see our schools closed for the rest of the year, which I hope they do, I'm going to work with Norman teachers to offer to meet up with students in Zoom meetings to talk about local government, anything that we can do to help. This is an unprecedented situation, strange times, but the great news is it will pass. It will. We just have to take it seriously now, support each other, be there for each other, and we will get through this.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I know my schedule can be a little bananas, especially right now, but I feel like this is going to be my life for the next month or so. So I appreciate the opportunity to connect, and I hope we can do this again.
Hopefully. Thanks.